Hello everybody and welcome back to the Masters Tour Seoul here in South Korea. We're getting another good look as we come in here at the Internet Cafe where all the players are playing. Hunter Ace taking front stage there, our current world champion. But we're not going to be looking at him for this particular game. We're filling in the round 9 matches with some of the behind-the-scenes action that was happening outside of our feature match. Casie, a player that I'm very, very familiar with last year from his HCT performance as well as Grandmasters. And TGcaimiao, a player I know that you will have had a lot of experience with yourself.
Yeah, both these players are pretty popular around the sort of tournament scene. Casie, I think, is somebody who's made a lot of fans in the sort of broadcast world just simply because he plays so quickly. So people are like, okay, come on, let's go. Casey's like, go, 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 go. If anything, you can't keep up with him sometimes.
Yeah.
You know, he's making his plays faster than you can even talk about them or think about them, which is always good to see. You know, he is someone who was notorious or well known for playing Miracle Rogue at that same pace of play when it was regarded as one of the most difficult decks in the game a few years ago.
If we could somehow make a child of Bunny Hopper and Casie, there would be the perfectly paced Hearthstone player.
Like, okay, well, I don't know. I think that maybe Bunny's further on the sort of extreme than you want to get in the middle. But but you see the two players who will be competing here on your screen: Casie versus TGcaimiao. TGcaimiao, a very he's a very well-regarded player from China. He made a lot of fans with his appearance at the Championship Tour Championships last year. Yeah, and it's good to see him back.
It is indeed. We're going to be seeing, as you can tell already, another mage mirror match here, as we have seen so many of already. But it's a little bit different to some of the others that we may have seen. It doesn't appear to be the Reno mage mirror that we've seen from so many players, despite Casie being on the Reno mage. It looks like we've got a Cyclone mage from TGcaimiao, which is definitely a little bit more interesting of a matchup, as they have to go for somewhat different play styles. However, having said that, the key card in both of these decks for the start is still definitely going to be the Pocket Galaxy.
Absolutely, yeah. We've seen Pocket Galaxy really take center stage in a lot of games, particularly Mage Mirrors. Yes. We have also seen a lot of decks that people have played specifically because they really punish you for spending 5 mana and not impacting the board. But it is a very strong option. TGcaimiao here, recognizing, okay, well, I have Pocket Galaxy, so I'm going to use my ping here and likely next turn to kill off this ooze and hope to use the Arcane Intellect after Pocket Galaxy in order to get those card draws reduced cost thanks to the legendary spell.
And speaking of interesting plays you have to make when you have Luna's Pocket Galaxy in hand, Casie making the very interesting play of just throwing down Luna herself before Pocket Galaxy has even been played, which is, a play that I think at first glance a lot of players might turn their nose up at because we've seen what it can do, right? When you have Pocket Galaxy online, Luna can just sweep through your entire deck. But I think given the relatively low reactivity of the Mana Cyclone Mage, there was a pretty decent chance that Luna ended up surviving there.
Yeah, it's not an easy card for the Mage deck to kill. There we saw it took 3 copies of Ray of Frost, right? So now both players with Pocket Galaxy online. Casie does get the first draw with it. Pipers into anything, since they're all one
random
cost.
Card.
Oh, look
That'll
at Calicos.
Do. That will do.
That's not a bad turn 5.
Oh my god, and the power of creation.
That's my reaction to that.
Oh, that's so disgusting.
That's my turn 5. Go. You know what? It doesn't get better for you from here. Everything still costs 1.
I'm honestly in shock. Like, I've seen Luna's Pocket Galaxy do some things, but...
You're in shock. I have Stockholm Syndrome. I'm just like, yeah, that's cool. No problem. Why would you not do that?
Yeah. For the moment for TGcaimiao, he's not in the Conjurer's Calling the Ooze to look for Doomsayer situation quite yet. But unless he manages to find himself a very expensive minion to go with Conjurer's Calling, he'll be getting there pretty rapidly, especially as Casie has a little bit of burn damage as well to actually complement this board.
I wonder if he's just thinking, should I not ping this?
Right.
In order to leave it out. He does have AI, though. So the Arcane Intellect here does give him the opportunity to find big things of his own. There's a Sea Giant, 0 cost.
It's a little bit more like it, especially now, of course, that we have the 10 mana Taunt thrown in with Saviors of Uldum. So it's not like Sea Giant is a purely aggressive minion when targeted with Conjurer's Calling. It has some defensive capabilities too.
Often I think that you'd see people hold on to their Sea Giant because they want to play it in the same turn as the Khadgar's Conjurer's Calling. But frankly, Casey's board is so threatening that Caimiao feels like he needs to get the presence on the board immediately.
Take a value trade.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, I'm gonna give you this opportunity. Sure, you can Blizzard and clear this, but at least you're not just attacking my face with every single thing and leaving me dead. All right, well, here we go.
That's definitely the card that Caimiao was looking for, being able to generate, hopefully, at least a couple of taunts here to protect his face.
Oh, there's 2.
There we go.
There's 4. This game is nonsense. Look at what's happening.
This is really Clash of the Titans right now. And I've got to be honest, this is something I'm glad to see, because what has been in previous games is one player gets
one
Galaxy,
player does it,
one
the other
doesn't.
player doesn't? Yeah.
Exactly, and
Yeah.
it's just a complete destruction. It's kind of like the old Death Knight matches where it was so crucial to find your Blood Reaver Gul'dan or Shadow Reaper Anduin that when one player didn't get it, it was pretty miserable. But when they both got it, it was a bit more exciting.
All right, well, the Spellbender here for Casie would be appealing if it weren't for the fact that he knows there's a banana in hand. Spellbender's great at shutting down an opposing Conjure's Calling, but not so hot when your opponent has an easy answer to it. All right, Siamat is going to get Rush and Wind Fury.
Yeah, he's able to clear off pretty much the entire board.
And so now I think the question is, okay, yep, banana. Now I know it's not Counterspell. Now I know it's not a Spellbender.
And I think it's fairly wise here for Caimiao to hold up on the Conjurer's Calling, because this board is plenty threatening enough.
Oh.
We're getting to the
All right,
point
what's
of
in the
Pilgrim
box?
into Puzzle Box
What's
of
in the box?
Yogg-Saron.
Seance.
That's not the worst.
No. Cool.
These are all neat little party
Yeah,
tricks
yeah,
at the
yeah.
moment, but nothing game-winning.
No, it does nothing. Mass
There
Hysteria.
we go.
Okay.
That's the one we're looking for.
Well, but there's so many things that are not these giants in the board that it's entirely possible that one or more of them do survive. No target for backstab, and there's a Conjurer's Calling.
So if it doesn't kill it,
Oh, where's it going? Your own
wrong
face.
place.
2 deadly poisons. If
Wow.
only he had Medivh's staff.
Test for the counterspell first to try and find out if he's all right there. It could
So-
still be bait.
Well, now I believe he has it.
Or get down.
Yeah, there's a possibility of Vaporize, there's a possibility of Flame Ward.
Oh, good point, yeah. So actually fairly likely that it dies should you go for the attack here. But obviously if it's the Flame Ward,
well,
it
the
will
fact
die
that it's
first.
Repentance means that you actually can't just attack into Flame Ward and have Conjurer's Calling as well.
That's a good point.
So now you need to actually Conjurer's Calling.
Into Nozdormi. That's one of the
All
better
right.
ones to get there.
Yep. But the fact that these took the damage from the Flame Ward means that Reno clears them.
You are not incorrect, which means Casie still somehow is not dead.
Yeah.
There's no Fireball able to come through. None in the deck either. I thought that puzzle box may have just got him there.
And the counterspell getting him with desperate measures. And now, all right, Twilight Drake into Conjurer's Calling right back at you. At 2 of the spells that came off the...
Conjurer's Calling onto Xerix.
Oh,
What?
wow.
Oh.
I mean, there's a Frost Nova over here, and there's 2 research projects. So these could...
It doesn't stop coming.
Okay, so the research projects can find... There's Mana Cyclone.
Wow.
So, all right, so he's looking for Fireball.
Yep.
So you want to play everything out here.
And if Fireball's one-off lethal with the mana expenditure of Cyclone, right?
Right, but you're freezing your opponent's board and putting yourself in a
Yes.
position
Yeah.
where you can at least fire off the possibility of lethal, and there's none.
Oh!
Antonidas! Well, there's the fireballs!
This game is an absolute clown fiesta. And for Casie, there is no... Oh, no, wait, there's the Alex Straza as the only form of healing, but unless he finds a wide board freeze as well, he'd still be dying. And unless he kills off the Sorcerer's Apprentice, it's 3 fireballs to the face anyway.
All right. Well,
That's a pretty bad burn.
I mean, there is a 1-cost Antonidas in Casey's hand, but it's not a 0-cost Antonidas. He can't... Valparis Scoundrel finds... Mystery Choice? Eh? Cinderstorm?
yeah,
not
a
gonna
little
do
bit
it.
too slow.
I don't think there's a way here. Yeah, and
Wow.
wow, that game was... That game... I'm just... This is
Just
how I
gonna
feel
take
after that
it in.
game. Just like... It was nonsense. It's just nonsense back
That
and
was
forth.
just utter nonsense.
I mean, it was cool, right? We were talking about how, sometimes there's games where one player has Pocket Galaxy and they just go nuts. The other player can't do anything. This game, both players had totally crazy things. Casie played turn 5 Calicos.
Yes.
And lost.
And a Power of Creation in addition to that Calicos.
On his turn 5, he played Calicos, Power of Creation, and lost the game.
Yeah.
Like, and he didn't even get that board wiped the next turn by something crazy. He
just fought back with minion presence.
Right.
Yeah. It's a hell of a card, the old Galaxy.
Yeah.
It turns out. But like you said, I'm glad we got to see a little bit more of an explosive one. I don't think we will see any deck changes from either of these players. Most mages haven't gone anti-mage mirror tech. Right. I think a lot of the time it's just been anti-rogue and anti-warrior.
Yeah, and typically speaking, most of the mage players are tuned for the mirror in game 1 because it is a deck that they expect to see a lot of. And the sort of changes that you can make to make your deck better against mage are often fairly minor and frequently pretty poor in other matchups. Like when we were seeing mage in, for instance, in Grandmasters quite a bit, we saw people playing snap freezes, right?
Yes.
And if you are expecting, the sort of diversity of the field, you don't really have the same luxury of devoting an entire deck to that heavy a bias against other mages. And also, it's a lot worse against the Reno mages that don't necessarily focus as heavily on the giant calling plan.
That's true. It's a lot less crucial to kill off those 1 minions because they can get those big minions down less consistently early on, but they have more threats in the long run. So killing them off early on isn't so big of a difference. But I think in terms of playstyle, at least, it felt like, aside from the joke that they played Galaxy on 5, their plan seemed pretty on the money. Like TGcaimiao knew that there was board clear available in the form of the puzzle box of Yogg-Saron, so he knew to hold back a little bit of his value, whereas Casie knew he was just going all in right from the get-go. Even the Lunas on 3, which seemed a little bit bold, but I think in the end, even though it got cleared, still felt like a higher upside play.
Yeah, this is game number 2, where TGcaimiao won an explosive game number 1. Neither player right now with Pocket Galaxy opening hands, so we may see something quite a bit tamer than what we saw in that first game.
However, I feel like we've been blinded in Mage, where we're so focused on Galaxy being the broken part of it that we've forgotten that just Arcane Intellect into Giant into Conjurer's Calling is still a disgustingly powerful thing to be able to do in a game of Hearthstone, which it looks like TGcaimiao is going to be gearing up for right now.
Yeah, I mean, it is true that neither player has the totally busted opening, but TGcaimiao does have the regular busted opening of a bunch of Mountain Giants.
Yeah. Which is, against Reno Mage is far from an automatic victory with, again, Polymorph and Doomsayer and Voodoo Doll, but it definitely will help you get started against it.
And we again see Casie just with the Tempo Luna, which I think, as we mentioned before, is generally a pretty strong plan. Wow, just gonna go ahead and calling it. Okay. Ooh. Wow. Well, one of those is really good. The turtle.
Does the Arcane statue ever get good?
Arcane Watcher, I don't think there's any spell damage in this deck unless you Conjurer's Calling again.
Yeah, I think you're right. And it's not bad just as a placeholder for the moment until he can Conjurer's Calling it again. But like you said, not ideal.
But there is another giant available for TGcaimiao. He does not currently have a calling, so there's no opportunity to just giant coin calling here.
Yeah. And holding on to this giant for if he does top deck Conjurer's Calling seems actually pretty valuable at the moment, especially with the Khadgar that he just found off the top of his deck. Everything else is just a little bit slow, though. It's just going to be beaten down or value traded even by the Ornery Tortoise.
Yeah, and TGcaimiao here, no real clean option that preserves his future options. He could just play a giant, right?
Yeah.
Which, frankly, Casie has used one of his fairly limited number of ways to deal with it. There is always the threat of just Reno coming down and
it's
really
Reno's
swinging
turn.
the board.
Yeah. And against that, he'd rather commit a small threat like Ziliax, because Ziliax this turn sets up for Coin Siamat next turn to try and wrestle this board back, which I think is a pretty reasonable way to go about it.
All right, Casie does fire off the calling. Which?
I think that's Spirit of the Lynx, which is
3, which is really bad,
nothing.
basically useless. Yeah, I was trying to think of which spirit costs 3 and is Lynx. You're right.
That is the one of the worst combinations I think I've seen in a good long
Yeah,
while.
that is a very sad. Oh, and he draws the calling, so rewarded for his patience. And
yeah, that worked out very nicely.
sort of a tale of two worlds here, with Casie getting Spirit of the Lynx Demolisher and TGcaimiao drawing Conjurer's Calling to go with that second giant.
Yeah, they both played a 3-mana card, but one got 1 attack, and the other one will likely get 15 attack.
There we go.
Yeah.
15 attack. What you gonna shoot? Boom! Face! That Demolisher knows what's up. That Demolisher is basically Zephyrus, right? He's just like, I know the perfect place to go.
Fire 2 damage at the perfect face. CMAC quickly being found for one of its, discovering one of its main weaknesses here, which is Giants specifically. Yeah. The 6/6 stat line really just stacks up miserably against what the Giant can throw down.
Really, one of the weaknesses is Giants. That's the weakness of almost everything in the game.
You're not incorrect.
All right, well, yeah, speaking of weaknesses to Giants, how about weaknesses to 5 Giants?
Yep, it's puzzle box or bust here, is I believe the only out for Casie.
So we got the Pilgrim. What's in the box? Or is there even a box?
No.
Oh, Luna's Pocket Galaxy. Not going to cut it.
Yeah, this is a nice blast from the past. It's almost charming at this point, it seems, to be killed by 30 worth of stats generated for 5 mana. It's kind of quaint in a way.
You know, I'm not really nostalgic for that time. not myself. No, I mean, I can understand maybe that, you know, seeing the Luna's Pocket Galaxies and everything going nuts. This was, you know, this is just doing it old school.
Yeah, exactly. It's like the, you know, the giant conjurer stuff is if your leg hurts, and then Luna's Pocket Galaxy is like that you chop it off, and it's like, well, your leg doesn't hurt anymore, does it?
Yeah, now it's bionic. It's like replaced with some sort of massive, you know, mechanical upgrade from the future.
Yeah. Please take us back. 7 mana was a good slot. But there we go. Casie, unfortunately, taking a 2-0 loss there. A bit unfortunate to see him start to go down in the scores a little bit. I believe that brings him to 7-2 now, or 7-3. Whatever it is with the score that we're at the moment. We'll get him lined up for the next match. We are going to bring you a couple more from the rest of this round before we head into the next round of Swiss, getting a lot closer and figuring out who will be finaling on to the top 16. We'll be right back after a quick break.